So news item number 3 comes to us from the Content Marketing Institute and Joe Pulizzi. Earlier this month, Joe published an article called "One Thing is Killing Content Marketing and Everyone's Ignoring It." In this article, Joe explains how he led a workshop on content marketing for about 50 small business CEOs and operations managers, and they all came from different industries. What wasn't diverse were the ways that they were marketing all their companies. Most had e-newsletters, all of them had Facebook pages. Every one of these senior leaders were not happy, though, with their marketing efforts. Their blog posts weren't getting much traffic and converting, their emails weren't getting open. We've heard this story before, Scott. Their customers were ignoring them on social media. Yeah. Joe stops and asks a simple question: is the content you are creating and distributing to your customers any different than anything else out there? And he looked around and heard nothing. How much of this, we get so infatuated with the technology, so caught up in what the platform's all about. How much of this are we missing in terms of just the actual content production and the people?
I think this is what is the part that makes the coverage of this story even newsworthy. I mean, this is obviously no notion of breaking news or acquisitions like we've just been talking about, but I do think that sometimes folks need to be reminded that in this era where here we are sitting talking about kind of customer expectations increasing and what are the vendors doing with their products and how are they expanding and how can somebody find the perfect stack to suit their needs, that ultimately at the end of the day, if you don't have anything to say that's compelling and you don't have a specific audience in mind to whom you're saying it, that ultimately your marketing is going to fall down. And you can't buy that, right? You can buy technology, but you can't buy something to say.
Even though people might tell you they're selling it.
That's right. I mean, and we're going to talk about that later in the show too, where we're talking about CMS vendors and how they're starting to market themselves. If they don't have anything to say and a powerful way to say it and the content to fill their own, their own web content management system, so to speak, then they're going to fall flat.
They'll fall flat. So let me ask you. I want to put you on the spot. Give me a couple of ideas. If I'm one of those people out there who says I am that guy who's not happy with my content, I'm not getting the results I'm looking for, what do I need to do differently?
Look, I think first and foremost, look, even for me and my own small business, so first of all, you're asking me for a suggestion as an analyst, but there's zero expertise from my perspective here.
I don't know about that.
I don't claim any of it. But I will say that I really think you do need to find what is it that you do really well, for which audience do you do that well, and how do you kind of create your offering compelling that to that particular audience. So how can you differentiate by being really good and specialist at something for someone in particular? I think it's really easy to get lost in, to be honest, even in this show. Sometimes we act like we're talking to the vendors out there. Sometimes we act like we're talking to, a marketer, or sometimes it's to an entire. We have to pick an audience, and we have to decide to meet their needs better, to become, and the whole idea of content marketing is to put yourself at the service of your audience, and that if you can help them do whatever it is that they're trying to do that you do really well, that you're an expert at, that eventually they'll come back to you and buy from you, rather than just telling them how well you do it.
I love that phrase, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I do think you're not just an analyst, but an expert. But maybe that's just one guy's opinion. But I love that phrase because we often say it's not about you, it's about them, and that's great. But it sounds almost like we're fluffing people up.
Right.
But if you think about putting yourself at the service of your customer, of the person you're talking to, that's a very different mentality. It's something very interesting to think about, and a nice piece of advice out there for people who are saying, how can I make this move?